A large black flag waves and tosses in the wind, depicting a crouched figure with a large, oversized, horned head and skeletal wings, that of a gargoyle. The camera pans to the side down the gunnels and railings of this ship, and we see a ship anchored in the middle of the ocean. Many sailors and pirates standing around waiting. And standing at the edge of one of the decks, covered in iron bondstones from necklaces and hoops attached to various pieces of his outfit, is Captain Raskar, an ex-pirate turned mercenary for the Coyote Dominion. His quartermaster appears next to him and says,
"Captain Raskar, sir. The crew despise the Coyote, regardless of our arrangement. How long are we expected to play this part as leashed dogs?"
"You can remind them that I too despise these Dominion fools.
It is not them we serve, but those positioning themselves for the swift defeat of those building a broken system. There will be a return to those who can lead by example. Go, remind them not to blow this opportunity, because before long, we'll be sailing these seas free from the yoke of the Coyote again."
As Raskar's quartermaster descends to calm the men and women of the fearsome ship, a mid-sized vessel of the Coyote Navy tosses ropes across and pulls in tight in tandem with Raskar the ship, laying wooden bridges across the two decks. The commanding officer on the Coyote warship looks bothered that he must do this at all, but he stands across the bridge laid between the two ships, and Raskar stands up to the other. He calls out, "Under orders of the Senate Privateering Subcommittee, you've been given the following orders. Escort the Lady Marama to the peripheral island noted on this map for treatment from the Enduring Servants. Root out any foreign forces you encounter while sailing these border waters. No quarter is to be given. Should you capture any pirate or Nourish captains for questioning before their demise, any information you gather must be communicated to your Coyote liaison. Are these orders clear?" Raskar does not respond, just stares hard, and the slightest nod, if any at all, is all the Coyote commanding officer gets. Two other soldiers help Marama up onto the narrow bridge between boats. She looks ragged, and she jerks her arms away from the hands once up. She straightens her back, and her desperate eyes lock with Raskar's. As she crosses, she doesn't utter a word, but when sailors unlash the ships and push off, once the Coyote vessel is separated even a little, she walks and growls near Raskar. "I can take you to Cassidy McCabe and the Revenant. I know we both have scores to settle with that one, but she's mine. The ship's all yours." Raskar smiles as he tears the orders and tosses them into the ocean. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Ironsworn Sundered Isles Season 2, Heart of the Dominion, all that good stuff. Let's catch up with some very brief announcements halfway through April, and we'll get back into this episode. I hope you enjoyed last week's perspective checks with Peach from the Dice Sisters about building a community. I know it was very specific to that particular Discord, but I think that the lessons and the actions and how to approach building these better communities and spaces for people to play is something that everyone can learn from and use, whether it's in your in-person groups that you're playing with, longtime friends. Every once in a while, just check in and remember, if you are thinking about starting a public game space or anything like that, or even just hosting online, think about all of the things that are going to make people as comfortable and have as good a time as possible. We have 2 weeks after this in April, one of which is going to be a toss-up the 4th week, but the last week expect a new mech city, and I think I'm going to coincide that with either an episode of me playing through one of the mech cities that have been released, or a design-a-log, because I've had a few people tell me that they like the episodes where I just kind of talk about games I'm in the process of designing and what kind of decisions I'm making with those. And I am pushing myself to put out more this year, so maybe I'll dive into the ones in the near future as far as releases go. And don't forget that the trans rights for Ohio itch bundle is up right now. You can go there, and for $5 minimum, although I encourage you to give more if you can get My Game Mech and 466 other RPGs on itch.io right now. There are some bangers in that bundle, and you'll be getting them for a crazy great price, all while you support trans rights. So go get that, and then you'll be able to play the cities that I'm releasing at the end of this month for free, because you'll have the base game of mech with all the rules you need. Alright, that's all I'm saying this time. Let's get into some Ironsworn and see what Cassidy and Senator Minos have found. So just as a reminder, we are only at 5 progress on our formidable rank investigation of the sunken city of Namira, which is our expedition at the moment. We have just fled and bypassed an enormous, terrifying crustacean known as a reef strider, who was inhabiting these caves, these sunken, tidal, constantly flooded caves beneath the shores in the city where the outpost is that the Explorers Guild and Cynosure Society are researching, and we have found, through a flooded passage, a shortcut or what have you, a room full of mysterious carvings that appear to have some kind of cipher or stone that allows us to translate all of these mysterious carvings that can be found around this island. I do want to retcon that after Senator Minos escaped and was kind of clamped onto by that reef strider, we said that Cassidy went back, grabbed him, pulled him, we dove in to this flooded passage and swam through to get to the other side. I think that this episode proper opens with the two of them coughing, sputtering as they climb out of this flooded passage onto wet rock and catch their breath, and we see that Senator Minos is actually quite injured. And when he tries to get up, he winces and makes a noise, and Cassidy realizes that maybe she saved his life, but things are still bad. And I'm going to use a move that I don't really ever use because I played this game solo mostly, and I don't think of this when other characters accompanying my primary protagonist, but I'm going to use the move Heal, which says when you receive medical care or provide treatment, envision the situation and roll. I'm going to be providing care, so we roll plus wits. I think Cassidy rolls over, takes in the scene for a second and doesn't see any immediate threats, and then runs to see how bad it is. So let's roll plus wits and see if we can help. That is a 2 plus 2 versus a 5 and a 1 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. On a weak hit, our care is helpful, but the recovery costs extra time or resources. I can either lose momentum or sacrifice resources. Losing 2 momentum would bring us down to 0 momentum, and losing 2 resources would bring our supply down to 2, which I never really worry about supply, so I think that momentum feels more impactful here and also feels more appropriate. We just barely got away from an enormous threat, and we are now in a room that I don't know if there is an escape from, other than going back the way we came. We're going to have to spend some time here. I think we are out of momentum, currently sitting at 0. Now mechanically, let me just get out and say that heal was actually, this punishing -2 to momentum is actually unnecessary, and I realize this because I'm not actually tracking Senator Minos' health which is why I would use this heal to give them extra health. So instead, what I'm going to say for my weak hit is that we're going to roll this into something for the next roll. And I'm going to give myself a little bit more information because we're going to say that by helping Senator Minos, he's going to know things that Cassidy wouldn't. And we need him in order to figure this stuff out. So I want to roll on one of the generic oracle tables in the back, the miscellaneous oracles for magnitude, because there is one for complexity. How complicated is this language going to be to decipher? We're just going to roll a D100, and lower is better as far as how complex it is, but let's see. Oh my goodness, I rolled a 94. It is bewildering. Okay. So that means we've got a lot of work ahead of us. I think this is an appropriate time to explore a waypoint during our expedition here. So I'm going to say that we're just going to roll to explore a waypoint because this is a new room. It is an important location that we rush to get to. Let's see if we find what we need here. We roll plus wits. That is a 6 plus 2 for an 8 against a 5 and a 10 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. The 10 on Cinder, so I wonder if there's something else here. On a weak hit, you uncover something interesting, but it is bound up in a peril or reveals an ominous aspect of this place. Envision what you encounter, then take +1 momentum. Alright, well I'm not going to roll immediately because I think that the danger, the ominous aspect that I'm thinking is that this is a dead end. We see Cassidy and Senator Minos. They are taking rubbings and etchings. They're filling a lot of pieces of paper. They're putting it into these waterproof scroll cases and map cases that they would be traveling with on the oceans like this. They are doing their best to get as many examples of writing that they'll be able to go back and study and try and decipher and figure out what these things are saying. Right now, it is bewildering. Tensions are high. Stress is high. I want to think of a couple other things. One, Leigh Sterling is here, and supposedly there are voices that are driving him a little nuts. And two, we rolled before on a ruin mystery, which was an enigmatic way marker pointing to other places. What site or discovery does this place lead to? And we did say this is one of those peripheral islands that might be one of the places that make up this ruinous border, this boundary that corrupts Sky Iron within the Dominion here. And I just want to roll on a couple of things. One, I'm going to roll on the Ruin Cipher Table, which is basically what little information we are getting out of these glyphs, whatever this is carved here in this room. What sort of idea does it give us about what this all could mean? And I'm going to up the cursed result. Any even is cursed. Here goes. That is even, and it is an 85. Spectral visitation or warning? Let's go. This is perfect. I think that... Oh, this is going to be so good. Okay. Cassidy and Senator Minos are exploring this cave that they have swam to. Swum to? I don't know. Biologist here. Let me know in the comments. They have recently arrived here swimming through that flooded passage away from the Reef Strider, and they are trying their best to get great information out of this room that seems like the perfect place to decipher this strange glyph language. And that is when Leigh Sterling reappears before Cassidy, and he looks terrified. But he's not the only ghost that Cassidy sees. And not only that, Cassidy's not the only one currently seeing ghosts. Senator Minos looks up and says, "Miss McCabe, we must leave this place immediately." And Cassidy looks and says, "No, it's okay. I know him." And then she looks and sees more ghosts surrounding Senator Minos. Let's roll our haunted asset. When we call upon Leigh Sterling's insight, we add +1. I think that we are doing this to compel these ghosts to tell us what it is we're not seeing. That is going to be Cassidy's take, and that is not good for us, because compelling is usually done with heart. I don't think she's going to be able to swindle this out of them. When you try and persuade someone or make them an offer, are we charming? Are we threatening? Are we lying or swindling? Either way, I mean, we're either going to be rolling +3 for Shadow, which I can't imagine how we're going to swindle this out of ghosts. We simply need to pacify. I think that's what we're having to do here is, and you know what? We can roll this into heart and iron, because Cassidy is doing this to pacify these spirits from hurting Leigh anymore, and she's doing that by showing them that I have been living with one of you. I know how this goes. I know you're all dealing with things, and I would love to help, but right now, we're the ones who need help, and you can help us. Are we going to swear an iron vow to a bunch of ghosts? Let's find out. First, we're going to compel. We're only rolling +1. We do get +1 because of our haunted asset, so +2 here. Here goes. Oh, no. A 6 +2 for an 8 versus an 8 and a 10 on the challenge dice. That is a miss. On a miss, they refuse or make a demand that costs you greatly. Pay the price. I'm going to pay the price, but I'm already leaning on this is going to be another forced vow that Cassidy owes to a ghost, because that seems to be her character. Let's see. 19 says a surprising development complicates your quest. I think that fits. I think that this is going to complicate the quest, because now not only does Cassidy need to answer to Senator Minos about having a ghost that she's been conferring with this entire time, but she's likely going to have to make a deal with other ghosts, and Senator Minos is going to kind of be a party to that, which is going to complicate his life as a senator, and things are getting very tense here because we are stuck between ghosts and a Reef Strider, and we still need to somehow find our way out of here. They are refusing to tell us any information about what these things say until such time as we prove we can help them. And I think Leigh comes to our aid, but we did miss. So regardless, we're taking one more stress. Oh no, I didn't think about that. It says here, on a weak hit, also endure stress. On a strong hit with a match, we can do that. It doesn't say anything about on a miss with Haunted, so I don't think we take any more stress, luckily. But now, we need to find out what on earth are these ghosts going to want from us? And how is that going to complicate our quest? We know that there is a ruinous border, thanks to Damar's Iver, where all Sky Iron brought in becomes corrupted, and the Coyote government, at least some within it, as well as the Church of the Enduring Servants, seems to be implicit in this, and the Cynosure Society, they have been experimenting with the effects that this cursed, corrupted iron, what they can do with it. And these ghosts likely have something to do with it. So let's go ahead and roll on action theme and see if we can come up with anything good that these ghosts might want for us to do as far as swearing here. Let's see. 23 says command. Oh, interesting. 100 weapon. Command weapon? Oh, I love this. Oh, I love this. I definitely don't think of Cassidy as a character who is a fighter. She's quick with knives. She's clever. She's a spy. She's maybe the worst person to say, you need to wield this weapon. But at the same time, it's that kind of thing where someone who doesn't want power for power's sake because they worry about the responsibility is among the best person to lead kind of thing, right? Is to give that responsibility because they understand the weight of it. Ooh, command weapon. Okay. So what is the nature of this weapon that the ghosts are going to be able to give to Cassidy, and how is that going to affect things? Alright, one more time we're going to roll action theme, or maybe action focus, to see what they want us to do with this weapon. 55 says hunt. Ooh. 23 says decay. Hunt, decay. With this cursed, I don't know, did we ever say cursed weapon? I think that this is a undead weapon that can hunt decay, as in corrupted sky iron. Does this weapon have a way to spectrally purify, cleanse, negate corrupted sky iron? And that is obviously an incredibly potent weapon, and the ghosts would not be willing to part this information lightly unless we swear upon our iron. Okay, let's play this scene out a little bit. Here goes. After long minutes of taking rubbings and etchings and beginning to try and translate these glyphs, these strange carved glyphs in this sea cave, water is beginning to seep back in, and we know time is of the essence as we see Cassidy and Senator Minos. They have looked around this not large but not small cave and realize that there's no escape. But they're doing their best to get as much information as they can before they need to make the next decision. And that's when Leigh Sterling appears. And he says, Cass, we are in a lot of trouble. Cover your ears. And Cassidy looks at him and cocks her head and she says, what are you talking about? Senator Minos looks up and goes, oh my, who is this? Cassidy, something is very... And then he puts his hands over his ears and collapses to his knees and kind of goes into a fetal position, and then Cassidy hears it. The wails of all of these ghosts that begin emerging from the walls of this sea cave. They are swirling in a maelstrom kind of whirlpool sort of spin around this sea cave, and Leigh looks like he's struggling to move amidst all of this sea of other souls that are in this room towards Cassidy, but he's trying to get to her. And Cassidy, when we zoom in, we realize that she and Senator Minos cannot hear the wailing screams of these ghosts. Instead, it is an almost suffocating high-pitched ring, and the sound of wind, and the sound of your own blood pumping through your body. It is insanity-inducing, just all the sounds of life and absence of life, and everything is just beginning to overwhelm. We see the black start to form at the edges of Cassidy's vision, but then Leigh is there, and his ghost spectral hands are on Cassidy's cheeks, and he's looking her in the eyes, and he says, just look at me. Just look at me. I can tell you what they're saying. Don't be scared. They need help just as much as we do. Please, Cassidy, stay with me. And Cassidy shakes and opens her eyes and looks at Leigh, and all we see is Leigh's face. He was an attractive man, young man in his prime. He was a charmer. He got all of the information and the jobs, and that life flashes back to Cassidy, and she trusts him even in death. And the sounds begin to drown out, and they're replaced with Leigh's slow, clear talking as he is telling Cassidy what these ghosts require of her. Cassidy, there are islands like this one scattered throughout the heart of the Dominion. Centuries of sacrifices. Centuries of being trapped here. They don't willingly corrupt the sky iron that passes between these islands, but their presence tied to all of this iron, it affects things. They can feel all of the iron that's been brought in here. They can feel it, and they need it to be purified. And if you do, the altars that they were sacrificed upon, they can find rest. Cassidy looks at Leigh and takes a chance at looking at all of the other ghosts, and they are no longer swirling in circles, but instead hundreds of faces surrounding Leigh and Cassidy and Senator Minos as he is cradled on the ground, are staring at her. And she says, if it'll help them, maybe it'll help you. Maybe it'll help the Revenant. I hate that I'm the one that has to do this, but I'll do it. Tell me what I need to do. And the ghosts begin to move throughout the room, and they're pointing at certain glyphs. Cassidy begins to walk around and look at them, but she doesn't understand them. It's bewildering. It is too difficult to understand. And instead, she looks up at them and says, "Tell me where to strike, and I will strike it. Please, let me help you. And in turn, it would mean the world if this could help me." We're going to swear an iron vow. We have to roll plus heart. I'm going to give myself a +1 from Leigh Sterling's haunted asset and hope here. +2. Here goes. That is a 3 +2 against 2 9s on the challenge dice. On a miss, you must overcome a significant obstacle before you begin your quest. Envision what stands in your way. Leigh looks at Cassidy as she is struggling to understand the hints being given to her and says, "Each island has an altar with a corrupt piece of sky iron. You must find it, and you must destroy it." And Cassidy looks and says, "How would I destroy it?" And he says, "They tell me when you find it, they'll help you. And they've told me how to get you there. Cass, I don't think we have a choice here." And Cassidy just says, "When did we ever? Lead the way, Leigh." And all of the ghosts retreat back into the walls. We are going to write down this quest. I think it is going to be formidable to get to each of the islands, to break the boundaries. Maybe we don't have to get to all of them, but obviously these ghosts expect us to free as many of them as possible. It is going to be formidable. It is going to take us a long ways out of the way per our pay the price, complicating our quest. But who knows what we find if we go here. We are going to continue our expedition, and now we have to continue not only to get out of these caves, but we can't go right back to the Revenant and sail away, despite getting maybe some of the information that Senator Minos wanted. We need to find the altar on this island. When all of the craziness with the ghosts has ended, I think Senator Minos slowly raises his head and looks around and sees Cassidy. Let's just roll a 50-50. I think that it is, for fun's sake, let's say it's likely he now sees Leigh Sterling all the time. That'd be a 75 or less. That is an 88. He no longer sees Leigh Sterling. And he's like,
"What just happened? Is this place cursed? Did you see what I saw? Did you hear what I heard?"
And Cassidy says, "And more, Senator. Please, come on. We have a detour to make. You're going to have to trust me. But yes, I'm being guided by those you cannot see." And the Senator's eyes go wide looking at Cassidy and says,
"The ship. That's why."
And Cassidy goes, "Yeah, that's another one. Don't remind me." And the Senator says,
"How can you be so calm right now? I'm losing my mind."
And Cassidy says, "A while ago, I lost everything, and I'm just trying to make it right. So forgive me if I'm not breaking down every time I probably should. I've become a little numb to all of this. Now, when we get back to the beach, if you'd like, I can go without you, and you can return to the Revenant with your clockwork construct. But I have an altar to find, and I think it's going to help us, all of us, find out more about what is going on with this corrupt iron." The Senator takes a moment to compose himself and says, "All right, I can't let you out of my sight, especially if you're the only one who can truly captain that ship. I can't go to it without you. So, lead on, Miss McCabe." We are going to continue our expedition. I'm going to play a little fast and loose with this because technically our only way back out is through where the Reef Strider was. So what I'm going to say is we are going to move at speed, rolling plus edge, that when we swim back through this passage, if and when we get out of the water, can we get through without this being an issue? If it's a weak hit, we'll see what happens. I'm just going to roll for it. Rolling plus edge, +2 here. That is a 5 plus 2 for a 7 versus a 2 and a 6 on the challenge dice for a strong hit. So on a strong hit, we reach a waypoint, and we can envision the location, mark progress per the rank of our expedition. I say we get out. We've run past the Reef Strider, who has relocated at this point after having been stabbed, and we've kind of disappeared for a while. So we move on. We are up to 6 boxes of progress in our expedition, and we've hit a waypoint, which I think is outside. And I think we've been down here long enough that when we arrive, it is dawn. The Explorers Guild and the Cynosure Society rushed to the beach and had been doing a lot of work when that water receded, when Cassidy and the Senator went in. I think that the construct maybe has pulled the boat somewhere and has been hiding out. Who knows? But I think that the exit that these caves took us to was a little ways away, that we can see them very busy on the beaches and on the coastline. We see the Revenant out in the harbor, which probably is raising a lot of flags for the Cynosure Society scientists and all that. Why is this ship here? What is going on? And we don't know what's going on over there, but we must continue our expedition overland. Is it worth it to explore this waypoint where we came out? Of course, I think it is. We're going to roll plus wits. Here goes. A 2 plus 2 for a 4 versus an 8 and a 4 on the challenge dice for a miss. You encounter an immediate hardship or threat. Oh no. Rolling pay the price, we get a 56, which says a friend, companion, or ally is in harm's way, or you are, if alone. I think this is where we see Raskar sailing in towards this island, and we know that time just got serious. We need to book it. I know that's a pretty future problem complication for a miss here on Explorer Waypoint, but I think that what that means is we don't get any information out of this whatsoever. We need to leave, and we need to leave fast, because our ship is just sitting, waiting to be attacked here in the harbor. So we are going to have to book it. We are once again moving at speed in this undertaken expedition, following Leigh Sterling as he's guiding us through this overland isle. Let's see. Oh my goodness, no! A 1 plus 2 on edge for a 3 versus a 3 and an 8 on the challenge dice for another miss. You are waylaid by a crisis or arrive at a waypoint to confront an immediate hardship or threat. Do not mark progress. Pay the price. Okay, that's 2 in a row. Things are going to get very, very bad now. We are going to roll not on pay the price, but on an overland peril, because that just seems right. Oh my gosh, I love this. How tropey. It says, precipitous crossing or rickety bridge. Yes, I love this, and I think that Leigh is looking at us like, well, I don't weigh anything, so I can't tell you how dangerous this is or not. And I think that we took the path that was going to afford us the most time saved, but unfortunately it took us away, that now we have to do this. And I think that this is definitely just facing danger, but I think that we are going to be doing this. This has got to be plus edge, right? Because it is mobility, agility. I can't imagine there's any other one here. So, rolling plus edge again. Let's come on. 1 plus 2 for a 3 versus a 6 and a 2 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. You succeed, but not without a cost. We make a suffer move, and that is definitely going to be to... This is going to be lame, but supply. Something falls, and falls way down all the way from the bridge, and we watch it just twirl and spin until finally it clatters against the rocks in the dried up river that is beneath this perilous crossing. Oh no, I didn't think about this, but is it one of our etchings? Is this some of the cipher and the language? I'm going to say it's unlikely. 25 or less it will be. Okay, 48. It is not. That is good. It is just some of our otherwise necessary supplies and things like that that have fallen down. Okay, really hoping not to enter the fray, but at the same time I feel like something is going to be waiting for us here. We're going to continue our expedition now. We have moved at speed too many times and gotten into trouble, but speed is of the essence. This time we are going to be moving, and we are doing this by staying vigilant now. Rolling plus wits. Let's see. Ooh, that is a 4 plus 2 against a 3 and a 2 on the challenge dice for a strong hit. On a strong hit, we once again reach a waypoint, and we are going to mark progress. So we are at 7 progress in this expedition. I don't think we have completed the expedition yet. Does that make sense, right? I mean, we came here for answers, although maybe we did find answers. I kind of want to see if there's one last thing. Is this the altar? I'm going to say it is. I'm going to say it's likely that this is the altar. Leigh has been leading us here. We are at 7 progress. The rest that needs to be done is destroying the piece of sky iron, or this corrupt iron at the heart of this altar. Let's see. An 18. So yes, this is the altar. We are going to explore a waypoint, and then we are going to probably finish our expedition, because there's going to be one big thing here. Let's see. Exploring a waypoint, we roll plus wits. That is a 6 plus 2 against a 4 and a 10 on the challenge dice. The 10 being Cinder, so I do think we are going to have to fight something that's going to protect or defend this altar. On a weak hit, you uncover something interesting, but it's bound up in a peril or reveals ominous aspect of the place. Take +1 momentum, so we are back up to +2, and we are going to have to deal with the guardian of this altar. I'm going to roll on Beasts of the Land and Beasts of the Sky just for fun here, and see maybe if one of these is fitting as the guardian of this altar. Let's see. I got a 91. So for Beasts of the Land, I am not going with that one. That is Deep Dragon. That is an epic rank. I am not ready to take that on, I don't think. Beasts of the Sky says Thanatoi. These moth-like creatures are unsettlingly large, but harmless. They are often seen on nights when Wraith is full, and they shimmer with a strange ethereal glow as if reflecting the light of the moon. Many islanders believe they escort souls into the world beyond. Look too long into their alluring glow, they say, and you suffer a glimpse of your own death. Now, I think it'd be cool if this altar was surrounded by a lot of these moths, but they are dead because they have not ushered souls to the world beyond. They never were allowed to, as this was an altar to sacrifice for a much, much more insidious reason. Now, obviously there's no combat there, but I think that maybe there is. I think that this place has become corrupted. And to end this episode, I'm going to do what I always do, and we're going to do a scene challenge. I'm going to lop this into progress for my use the weapon to free the souls on the peripheral isles. This is going to be like part 1 of 4 or 5, however many I think. I think it's probably 4 islands and then the central one of the Razor Isle. So we're going to do this. It's going to be dangerous rank, and we are going to start a 4-segment clock and begin our scene challenge to approach and destroy the piece of sky iron that is corrupted at the heart of this altar. As we approach, Leigh Sterling looks to Cassidy and the Senator and says, "Beware! Oh no, it's coming!" Cassidy and the Senator look around, confused as to what is happening, but as soon as they approach an area within a certain radius of this altar, that feeling of just being watched and ominous oppression just washes over them, and Cassidy is terrified but must make a move towards this altar. Here goes. We are going to begin the scene challenge. We've already assigned it a rank of dangerous, and as we are ready to act, but not with an advantage or unprepared, and then we're going to activate a 4-segment tension clock, and we are going to base danger or secure an advantage to take action. I think that I don't know why I love rolling this character's worst stats, but I think that we are going to do this with endurance with the help of Leigh Sterling. Cassidy is just staring at her ex-lover's ghost as he is also being overwhelmed by this terrible, corrupt feeling that is trapping all of these souls here. We are rolling plus iron, but I'm giving myself a +1 from the haunted asset. That is a 2 plus 2 for a 4 versus a 2 and a 6 on the challenge dice. We do get a weak hit, which means that because of the +1 from haunted, we take 1 stress. We are now down to 0 spirit, and we're going to have to endure stress as we do this. We did get a weak hit, which a weak hit on face danger says you are successful. Mark progress. We get 2 boxes, but encounter a complication or setback. We're going to think of that, but first we are going to endure stress. We are rolling +1. Here goes. That is a 3 + 1 for a 4 against a 6 and a 1 on the challenge dice. A weak hit. If you are not shaken, you may lose momentum in exchange for +1 spirit. Otherwise, press on. I guess I have to do that. There's no option to not do that. So we are going to go down to 1 momentum and 1 spirit. This is rough. And the complication of just trudging and forcing our way towards this altar is that Cassidy thinks that she is going to be doing this at speed, but as she does so, that wailing that we heard down in the caves, it's not this banshee-like wailing of screams that sound like wind tearing through a cave that you'd think in a scene like this. It is instead the throbbing pulse of your blood in your body, and it is just crushing her ears as she is taking every step. She can hear the creaking and groaning of her body straining against whatever this corrupt force is that is holding her back, and she actually sees it bring Leigh to his knees, only making her more concerned about what this could be. I'm going to go ahead and take -1 to health as well, because she can feel this in her teeth. She is grinding her teeth, pushing hard and forward. We are going to continue this scene challenge, and we're going to secure an advantage with wits, because we're going to notice that this altar, carved alongside it, not surprising, are many of those same glyphs. And Cassidy's eyes are going to take them in as she is making her way towards it. Senator Minos is flagging a little behind as he's trying to move in towards here as well. We could see that his nose begins to bleed, and Cassidy's looking, and as if down in the caves when the ghosts were trying to highlight certain glyphs and sections of this writing, she can recognize some of the same. Let's see, we're rolling plus wits to secure an advantage. That is a 3 + 2 for a 5 versus a 5 and a 9 on the challenge dice for a miss. Oh no, on a miss, when we are securing an advantage, you fail your assumptions, betray you, fill a clock segment, and pay the price. We are at 2 clock segments filled already. Let's roll to pay the price and see what lets us down. We said this was not Cassidy's strength. That is a 39. The environment or terrain introduces a new hazard. Oh boy. Okay. Let's go ahead and roll on Overland Peril and see if we can find out what that is. Just want to roll on more oracles. 26 says grueling terrain or environment tests endurance. That tracks, so I think that what we're going to have to do here is that means we have to roll face danger with iron here, which is not our strength. But we get a 5 + 1 against a 3 and a 1 on the challenge dice for a strong hit. Cassidy shows up when it matters. She strongly just pushes through, looking at Leigh, looking at Senator Minos, knowing that she is the one who has to do this, if not for all of these ghosts and souls that are trapped here after being sacrificed, presumably, but for her ex-lover and boyfriend, who his soul cannot find rest. On a strong hit on face danger, you successfully mark progress. That gets us up to 4 progress and half our boxes. I think Cassidy is very rapidly approaching this altar, and it seems like for the 30 or so feet she needed to walk into this clearing, or, this overgrown thicket before a cave where all of this would have happened before. I think that we see her struggling to close in on it, but then as she gets a little closer, she can see on top of this altar where they would have laid the sacrificial victims, there is carvings along the outside, more of those glyphs, but also where the pool of blood would have been funneled and gone down, and in the very center of it all is embedded a piece of iron that is sitting there, and every once in a while when the sun glints through this overgrowth of this section, we see not that blue-silver reflection that is supposed to come off it, but instead a ruddy red. Here goes. We are going to secure an advantage, I think. That makes sense. And we're going to do this. Ooh, I have such a fun idea. We're going to do this with Shadow. I'm looking for an excuse to roll my best stat. I think that what Cassidy does is, as she approaches, she pulls her knife out and she holds her hand over the altar as if she's about to offer it blood, and maybe she's hoping that it will calm the chaos that is surrounding this corruption. Here goes. That is a 6 + 3 for a 9, but against a 9 and a 1 on the challenge dice. 9, of course, being Wraith, not falling for that That is a weak hit. We can only choose one, so we can either take +2 momentum or +1 on our next move. We're going to take the +2 momentum because we have 1 at this point. And now we are going to face danger. I'm going to also say with Shadow, because instead of striking our hand and feeding it blood, we are going to simply quote-unquote miss, and we are going to attack this Sky Iron Corrupt Gem here. Let's see. That is a 4 + 3 versus a 10 and a 6 on the challenge dice. Again, 10 being on Wraith. The magic is not falling for it. On a weak hit for face danger, we mark progress, but also mark clock segment, so we are at 6 progress and 3 out of 4 clock segments for this scene challenge. Cassidy stabs into it, but her dirk, her large dagger, cannot pierce this Sky Iron. And Leigh yells at her and says, "Cass, that won't work! It's what they're telling me! The knife alone won't do it! You need your blood! It'll break it, I promise! Trust me!" Cassidy looks back and she looks at Leigh and she looks at the altar. And we have a flashback to when she cut her hand and bled on the Revenant and awoken the spirit that was trapped inside the ship. We have a memory of Marama licking the blood off of her hand and threatening Cassidy with strange powers, and then Cassidy learning that there are such individuals who swear vows on corrupt iron and gain terrifying abilities. She has had enough of blood and bonds. But will she do it? Here we are going to face danger one last time. It comes down to this roll. 3 out of 4 clock segments filled. 6 out of 10 progress filled. We are rolling plus iron with the strength to do this. Maybe it's heart for resolve. Either way, it's our 2 + 1s once again rolled into that 1. The resolve, the endurance, the strength to do this. Here goes. A 6 + 1 for a 7 versus a 2 and an 8 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. We mark progress, but also fill a clock segment. Ooh boy, that means the scene challenge has come to an end at 8 progress, and we must move to finish the scene. We roll our challenge dice. Compared to our 8 progress, was this enough? A 5 and a 10 on the challenge dice for a weak hit. You succeed, but not without cost. You must pay the price. Make it a minor cost relative to the scope of the scene. Here goes. A 100 on pay the price. Roll twice. 83. You are stressed. Tell me about it. 90. You are delayed or put at a disadvantage. We see Cassidy cut her hand, place her hand on the iron to the point where it activates, and she pulls her hand away and stabs in, and with the blood on the blade, the ghosts surrounding her go quiet. And all of a sudden, Cassidy's blade takes on a spectral manifestation that we're not even sure she sees as she strikes down at the corrupt Sky Iron at the heart of this altar. And it pierces it, and it shatters it. And Cassidy, her eyes roll back, and she falls to the ground, unconscious. That is where we're going to end our episode this week. Thank you for joining me for some Ironsworn Sundered Isles. I guess we're going to have to wait and see what happens in this unconscious state. Oh boy. This campaign is taking some strange turns I could have never expected, and that is why I love this game so much. I hope that you're enjoying it. If you are, find me on the social medias, give me a follow. You can keep up to date with all of the games that I'm considering playing. Little posts about, what new games I've gotten, some discussions with people about what they'd like to hear or see more of, or just chat about games and where the community's at and, the state of the world. If you want to chat a little more in depth, join the DMs After Dark Discord. The link will be in the description. You can come hang with me and all of my OG RPGs on the internet homies of the DMs After Dark. We have a lot of good channels. Come for the pets one. It's cuddly. If you really like what I'm doing, you can leave a rating and review on your podcatcher of choice. It goes a long way towards the algorithm gods of the internet, helping funnel me towards more new listeners, and we just create a better, cooler community of folks who like this kind of stuff. And if you are bonkers generous, I do have a Ko-fi page that I have not updated in far too long, but you can help cover the cost of podcast hosting and the video conferencing software that I get transcriptions from for these episodes. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, if you happen to meet a ghost, I hope they're a lot cooler than the ones Cassidy has to deal with.